You are not disrespected because you are too kind. People feel you are afraid to leave.
They feel it when you explain too much, laugh at painful jokes, and stay too long. They feel it when you remain in conversations where your dignity is already disappearing.
Here is the truth. The person afraid to leave usually gets treated the worst.
Not because they deserve it, but because people quickly learn where consequences are missing.
This is the respect switch, when people realize access to you is no longer guaranteed. Not because you became cold, cruel, or selfish, but because you stopped shrinking yourself.
Being ready to leave does not mean running from every difficult conversation. A hard conversation can still carry respect, even when it feels uncomfortable. But disrespect slowly removes your worth while asking you to stay calm about it.
That is the difference most people miss. They confuse endurance with love. They stay too long and call it patience. They explain too much and call it communication. They forgive the same behavior again and again, then call that forgiveness love.
But sometimes patience is just fear, with better manners and softer language. Fear of losing someone. Fear of seeming difficult. Fear of being alone. This is not weakness. It is conditioning learned through years of staying.
Somewhere along the way, you learned that being good means staying. Staying when someone hurts you. Staying when someone ignores your boundary.
Staying when someone talks to you like your feelings are the problem.
But in the next few minutes, you will learn 6 moments to leave. Not with drama. Not with revenge. Not to make people chase you.
But because your peace has a line, and your presence has value. By the end, you will know when to stop explaining, waiting, and shrinking. The mechanism is simple. People do not only hear what you say. They study what you stay for, what you forgive, and what they can repeat. If disrespect costs them nothing, they learn your boundary has no weight. Respect often begins when people realize you are not trapped. The first shift is this. Be ready to leave the conversation.
Not because you are offended by everything, but because you can read the shift.
You can tell when disagreement has turned into disrespect.
There is a moment when the tone changes and respect leaves the room.
They stop trying to understand. They start trying to dominate.
They interrupt you, mock your point, and twist your words into something smaller.
Old you explains. Old you says, "That is not what I meant." New you pauses, looks at them calmly, and does not rush. I'm not continuing this conversation if respect is missing. That is it. No speech, no anger, no performance.
If respect does not return, you leave the conversation.
You hang up. You stop replying. You walk out of the room.
You do not need to win every argument. Stop losing yourself inside them.
That is calm departure. A consequence without chaos. A boundary without begging. The second shift is this. Be ready to leave the need to explain. Explaining feels mature. It feels calm. It feels like communication. But sometimes explaining is fear wearing a better outfit. Fear they will misunderstand you. Fear they will think badly of you.
Fear that if they disapprove, your value becomes smaller. That fear traps you inside conversations that were never fair.
They twist your words. You explain. They accuse you again. You explain more.
Then they call you defensive, as if your clarity is the problem. Now you are like a lawyer trying to prove your heart to someone not listening.
That is not a conversation. That is a trap.
Not every accusation deserves a paragraph. Not every misunderstanding deserves your energy. Not every person deserves access to your inner world just because they questioned it. A confused person listens when you clarify. A committed person keeps moving the target. A confused person wants truth. A committed person wants control. So say it once. That is not what I meant.
If they keep twisting it, say, I'm not going to keep explaining myself. Then leave the need to be understood by someone determined to misread you.
Let the silence sit there. Let them keep the wrong version if they want.
Your peace cannot depend on every person seeing you correctly.
The third shift is this. Leave people who keep testing your boundary.
They cross a line, then watch what happens next. You say you dislike being spoken to that way. They do it again.
You say your time matters. They cancel again.
You say the joke is not funny. They repeat it next week. At some point, this is no longer a mistake. It is information.
The second time is information. The third time is a choice you are making. A boundary without a consequence is just a wish that sounds strong. So say the boundary clearly, then watch what they do after they know. Watch the adjustment, not the apology. Apology without adjustment resets disrespect. If they cross it again, move differently. End the call. Cancel the plan. Create distance. Stop giving the same access to the same behavior.
That is not punishment. That is alignment between your words and your standard. The fourth shift is emotional. Leave before your nervous system starts chasing them.
Stop waiting for their guilt, their apology, or their reaction to make you okay.
When they go silent, do not chase. When they act cold, do not perform. Their mood is not your assignment. Their approval is not your oxygen. The fifth shift is leaving the version of you that tolerated too much. That version was not stupid. That version was trying to survive.
Understand that version, then outgrow it. Never stay longer than your self-respect survives.
The final shift is leaving without announcing it. Real power is usually quiet.
I'm gonna step back from this.
Then actually step back. Your absence has to match your words. That is the respect switch. You are kind, but not available for disrespect. Comment Eve if you stayed too long. Subscribe to understand people without losing yourself.